I visited Miguel, a.k.a. Sir Cob-a-Lot. Yeah, we're in the Dina Mina. Heading to Zorthian Ranch.
Hey folks, I'm here in Pasadena and I was just up at Zorthian Ranch in Altadena learning all about earthen builds that are fire resistant from Sir Cob-a-Lot, also known as Miguel. Let's hear what he had to say. So how did all this cob come about?
Let's see here. Yeah, well, I've been cobbing really, I've been cobbing since I was a kid, really. I grew up in Sonoma County, up in Petaluma, California. And the site of the largest adobe structure in Northern California just happens to be in my hometown of Petaluma. And so I remember going into this old fortress built out of adobe, out of earth bricks, when I was 9 years old, and experiencing natural air conditioning for the first time. Going inside of a structure and on a hot day, it being much cooler inside. And also just the concept of using the earth right from the ground as a building material. Okay.
And we're rolling.
Okay, so hello, I'm Miguel Elliott, also known as Sir Cob-a-Lot because I cob a lot. And we're actually here in Zorthian Ranch in Altadena in LA. LA, in this area of Altadena, it's about 80% of the homes burnt here in the fires we had this year. And so I came here, a few weeks ago to see if I could offer some of my skills in earthen building. And because there's a big need for it here and also in other places in Altadena. And so we're talking about building a structure here, actually. We kind of flatten this area out. And so we're talking about building a structure here that's going to look very similar to what I was doing on Maui, right? So this here is on Maui. This is in Lahaina. This is actually the first livable structure in Lahaina after the fire, right? And so, so this is kind of like an alternative to a shipping container, right? So that's a shipping container, just square box, gets super hot in the summer, super cold in the winter. But what I'm proposing is that we build these small little sleeping cabins. We can call it an emergency sleeping cabin. So it's big enough to have a bed and some of the basic essentials. And the nice thing about these too is you could actually move them if you have to. So there's a picture here of a village I did in Oakland under the freeway, right? This is the Cob on Wood village, right? Mm-hmm. And we were actually able to pick these all up and move them, put them on trailers and move them. It's the first day of the 13-day cycle. And so every 13 days is a new cycle.
Nice.
And so this is magnetic moving around, started doing, I would say my first big workshop was in North Carolina in Asheville at Earth Haven community. And then went to Thailand, in '98, did some building there. And then I started, I would say like my first full-on workshop was in 2001 down in Argentina, in Patagonia. And so I attribute that as to when I really started. I built a Waldorf kindergarten school as part of a workshop. And so I was there for 10 months and did a lot of the building. And so that's really where I discovered, that I had some skills in sculpting and saw how fun it was. And that's really where I became cob-obsessed. And then I went to Thailand in 2004 after the tsunami, and did some building there. And then went to Chicago, and then I was pretty convinced that cob was going to save the soul of Chicago. And so I was doing cob benches on the sidewalks, and built a yoga studio in Chicago, and built an organic nightclub in Chicago. And I was just doing all these projects, ovens, workshops, met Barack Obama back in 2006. And yeah.
3 continents?
Yeah, and so then since then I've been to Africa, I've been to Italy, a Damanhur community. I've been to Thailand, I've been to Guatemala a couple times, I've been to Argentina a couple times, and Mexico a few times. So that's kind of why I picked up the name Miguel, speaking Spanish and spending a lot of time in Central and South America. And so yesterday our workshop was on Cosmic Star Day, and Star is the day to create art. create like art through nature and elegance and beauty. And, so we had about 12 people here, and I was guiding them in the process of how to do an earthen plaster, right? So we did a plaster, we plastered this bench, and so this is, it came out really beautiful, nice and smooth. So we'll be letting this dry out a few more days, and then we'll be doing a few coats of sealer, like a linseed oil sealer, and then a final coat of linseed oil and beeswax. Decomposed granite actually is what it is. So to be technical, the clay that's in it, it's called the feldspar. When you have a clay in granite, it's actually called feldspar. It's actually technically not clay. It is a little scientific thing. So, so it's great for building, but what I've discovered is that it's not ideal for ovens because the granite doesn't absorb very much heat. And so it's great for housing because it keeps that heat from the day out. But I've noticed that this oven that we did here, it doesn't really heat up very much. I mean, it'll get hot because you have a fire in there, but it doesn't absorb the heat as clay does. So yeah, but we did a nice plaster on this yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we did, and we plastered this countertop. So this is a little rocket stove, here.
I haven't seen this before.
Yeah, and so we can, have this a nice, working surface here. And
Taking stones from the land.
oh yeah, stones are in abundance. Yeah, I call it, rock and cob. When you do cob and stone work together, rock and cob. So, and we're going to continue this cob around here. We'll have a whole little cob kitchen and everything. And we're going to have a bamboo. We're going to do a nice roof over it, everything too, so we have some nice shade. Yeah.
Outdoor kitchen's where it's at, especially if you have a group.
Right. I see that. I think there's many opportunities here. I met with a guy today up the road who lost his house. Like 80% of the people here in this town did. So he wants to build a little cabin, a little emergency sleeping cabin in his backyard. Right here in Altadena, like less than a mile away from here. And there's a few people I've been talking to that want a cabin instead of a shipping container or a mobile home. And so Altadena could potentially be like the little Hobbit hut, capital, of the world, And you could build them legally if they can be picked up and moved too. The pallets and the cob, you can be. And I actually want to introduce a bill to the legislators to try to make it so that we can legally build these emergency sleeping cabins without having to call them storage or sheds or play structures, and actually live in them, have electricity and water, make that legit if it's small enough. It's like, what's the issue? Like, they should be asking these to be built. That, and to have an emergency safe house. Like especially places like Topanga Canyon, where if there was a fire, people would not be able to evacuate. And they should be able to shelter in place and be able to go inside of a fireproof structure. So I want to introduce a bill making it almost even mandatory that if you have a house in Topanga Canyon, you need to have some kind of safe house in the backyard with some kind of fire resilient material. So if it's not cement, then it could be aircrete or cob or adobe, or even the pallets encased in cob. Is fireproof.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we could even, instead of cutting it down all the vegetation around a house, somebody should have the option of encasing their house in cob and do a cob stucco. I call it stuccob, to encase the house in a fireproof membrane. And hopefully, we'll. Yes. Yeah.
Proving them wrong and building them up.
Yeah, I say in Babylon they babble, nothing gets done, but in Cob-a-Lot we cob and we get things done.
Yes, I can see
Yeah.